Yay. Now I hear you.
Oh, hello, LG.
Hello.
We're going to start in about a minute. So part of what we're going to do is I'm going to mute everybody. Then we'll start our presentation. And then at the end, we'll unmute everyone again and have a moment for question and answers. Okay.
Thank you.
If you want to speak while we're talking and you have a very pressing question, just raise your hand. We'll be able to see you and attend to it right away. All right. Thank you all very much for coming and joining our online open house. As I said, just a very quick housekeeping. Everybody will be muted at this point, except for obviously presenters. And at the end of our short presentation, we'll have about a 30-minute presentation of different parts of our programs. After that, we'll unmute everyone's mics and we'll be able to have a question and answer session. So let me present who is part of the presenting team here today. As you might see my name a lot, I'm Jaime Briceño. I'm the recruiter and digital missionary here at Bexley Seminary. And I really want to thank you for being here. It's a great opportunity for us to talk about our program and to get to see you and see the people who are interested on it. So it's a real blessing for us for sure. Joining here on my right is Anthony Dahl. He is one of our newest students here at Bexley Seminary, a Master's of Divinity student. Then here on my left, we have Terry Delicio, our acting president and academic dean. Over virtually, we have Jason Fowd. Jason, you want to raise your hand? There you go. He's one of our professors here. And then we also have Milner Seifer, which is also one of our professors and director of music and liturgy here at Bexley Seminary. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what our agenda will look like. And we're going to start with Terry. She's going to give us a brief history of Bexley Seminary, who we are as a school, why we're here with CTS. And then we'll hear from I'm going to talk about our formation program, and then we're going to have an opportunity to hear from Anthony Dahl from what does that look like from the student perspective. Move on to talking about our academic programs, hearing from our professors, Jason and Milner. So, okay.
Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you. Where should I start? Bexley Seabury is a federation of two seminaries that came together in 2013. Bexley Hall was in Ohio, Seabury Western was in Evanston, and then in Chicago. And the two seminaries came together to join forces to combine their strengths and to begin to build a new way of being seminary. Here in Chicago, we ran our Anglican Studies Diploma program and the DMin in Congregational Development. And at the Ohio campus, we operated our Master of Divinity program. A new opportunity came up for us about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, to consolidate everything here in Chicago. And we moved our campus to a portion of the campus at Chicago Theological Seminary. And we consolidated all of our programs in this one place. The thing that makes us different, I think, is that we have, if you were to have a bumper sticker about us on your car, it would say high context, low residency. The low residency. The way we operate our classes is that you can stay in your local community. You don't have to move. You don't have to be in residence at the seminary. We have intensive classes. Some of them are sort of hybrids in the sense that in between the weekend intensives that we have in the fall and the spring for our MDiv students, there's activity online to greater and lesser extent. And that helps us to stay connected with one another as students and as teachers, as a learning community. Also our field education program, our contextual learning program, that's the high context part, allows you to practice your ministry skills in your local context. But it's not just you having the opportunity to be associated with a parish or whatever your ministerial context might be in your local setting. The model that we're trying out establishes communities of learning and formation in your community. For example, if in your parish setting, we would ask people to become part of a group that would be part of your formation team in your local context. And together you would practice the things that you learn here in the seminary. Our director of contextual learning and field education would come to your local context periodically and work with you and work with that congregation to help you to meet your goals. So high context, low residency. Low residency doesn't mean that you can have a full-time job and then a part-time job in the evening and then still be able to do a full-time Master of Divinity, because it is a lot of work and it takes a lot of discipline to stay connected during these periods between the intensive sessions. But it does make it possible for you to stay put most of the time, to stay connected in between, and then to come together with this community of learners on our campus 3 times in the fall, 3 times in the spring, and with courses in January and in June.
I want to now invite Jason. Jason, would you tell us a little bit more of what that academic year looks like with regards to the hybrid intensives that Terry mentioned and the week-long intensives?
Thanks very much. First of all, let me just say I'm so pleased that you're all here for the open house, that you'd like to learn more about Bexley Seabury. I'm an alumnus of Seabury Western. I've taught at Bexley Hall since 2009, and I'm really excited by what we're doing as Bexley Seabury and the changes we've been able to introduce. As Terry was saying earlier, a good part of the changes that we've been able to introduce are about the format of our classes. And Terry's already touched base on that a little bit. I'll just say, when we meet, the building blocks of our classes, as with any class, are that we eat together, we study together, and we pray together. And so those are really the uses of our being together as a class. It's not just information transmission. It's about being together, forming those relationships, and being formed in our relationship to God through all of this. So then during the academic year, if you take a hybrid intensive class from us, you'll, as Terry said, be present 3 times a term for that class. And that looks like coming in on a Friday, and you'll usually meet from just after lunchtime Friday until early evening. And then you'll come back Saturday morning and meet through to say mid-afternoon together as a class. You'll do that 3 times, but that's not sort of constant lecturing or anything. In fact, there's usually the way we teach is that it's more seminar format, punctuated by some lectures as necessary, with group learning exercises and these sorts of things. But it's also suffused with prayer throughout. We begin with prayer. We have Eucharist, we have morning prayer, we have evening prayer, we have Compline as a part of each of these 3 two-day sessions together. In addition to that, in my class, and I know in other classes, we also make a point of eating together as an opportunity to socialize, get to know each other, share our stories together in an informal way. So during a hybrid class, you'll do that 3 times. Between those 3 meetings, you'll do some work online as well. And then for the week-long intensives, it's actually just, as it says, you'll start on a Monday, sort of just after breakfast, and you'll go through Friday, sort of mid-afternoon usually. And again, it's suffused with prayer throughout, morning prayer, Eucharist, evening prayer, Compline, and it's intense, but it's great. And all of your contact hours are taken care of in that time together. Again, it's not just sort of 40 hours of lecturing. It's group exercise. As I teach it, there are often field trips involved. We bring in practitioners from outside to talk with us and get to know them, and so forth. So that's a hybrid intensive and week-long intensive. And then I'll just say briefly, if you're doing the MDiv with us, you'll also take some online classes through Chicago Theological Seminary that will fill out your Master of Divinity. And you're able to do that without coming and being present on the campus of CTS for the classes. So there you go. That's a beginning, at least, of getting a sense of the format of the classes. Thank
you, Jason. One of the things that happens a lot during those intensive times is that, when we're talking about this dispersed community, this hybrid model, a lot of the students ask us, so do we get to know each other? Does it feel like really you never get to meet your classmates? And one of the things that actually happens because of that same intensity is that you get to experience your classes somewhat like a retreat style. If you may imagine that, like you're so intensely united with each other that you really get to know your classmates in a more intense way that you would sometimes even in a weekly semester class. And part of that, I really want to invite now Milner to express that feeling from the side of the faculty, what that is like from a faculty perspective to be involved in that intensive mode of learning.
Much, Jaime. Can you hear me now? Very good. The intensive was a new experience for me when Seabury Western started going to that. And one of the things that I've enjoyed about it, the way that Terry and I have structured the class that we teach and the way that Victor and I structure a class in the spring, is that we really meet the students through some online introductions that they do before we see each other face to face. And in some classes, they actually post some things on the readings before they come to class. And so when they show up in the classroom for the first time, they've already met each other. And they may be hooking up a name with a face that first class meeting, but they've already engaged with one another. And you really hit the ground running much more than you do in the old traditional semester class where you walk in the classroom for the first time and you maybe have not met everybody. As Jaime said earlier, it really is, we call it an intensive because it's so compact, but everything happens in a compact way, and people really do get to know one another very, very well in the course of a semester. Even if they're just taking one course, they get to meet the other students and get to know the faculty very well. Is that what you wanted me to talk about, Jaime, or is...
That was perfect. Thank you, Milner.
Okay.
Now we're going to talk in a bit of more detail into each of the 3 academic programs we offer here at Bexley Seminary. So I want to invite Jason, if you can give us an overview of what the Masters of Divinity program with regards to the academic portion looks like.
Well, the Master of Divinity is designed to be taken in at least 3 years. It's the traditional degree. It's been called the gold standard, the traditional degree for formation for ministerial leadership. Traditionally at Bexley Seabury, that's meant that you're intending to be ordained and go into ministry. More recently, though, I think wisely, we've begun realizing that this is indeed it's a degree about ministry. It's a degree for the church, but it's not necessarily a degree just for people who are intending to be ordained or who are in the process leading to ordination. And so it's open to anyone who's interested in the sorts of topics that we're learning about and the formation that we're offering. So yeah, there you go. Jaime, what else would you like me to mention about that, or what else shall I say?
Thank you. I want to ask Terry now. Terry, what are the major structures of the Masters of Divinity program?
Well, we have a partnership with Chicago Theological Seminary. And the reason why we chose them to be a partner in our new program is because they offer a fully online Master of Divinity degree. So they have courses that our students can take fully online in some foundational areas. So our students will take 12 credits of scripture, which they could either take here in Chicago if they're here, or can take wholly online. They take the foundational systematic theology course, either here or online with CTS. And they take a foundational church history course and a pastoral theology course. So that's about 24 credits of the 81 credit degree. The next major component of the Master of Divinity is our Anglican Studies courses. And so we have Anglican Liturgy, 2 courses in Anglican Liturgy and Music. One of them focuses on history and theology. The other one focuses on liturgical practice, also with theology. We have an Anglican history course. We have Anglican theology and ethics. We have Anglican spirituality and ethos. So the program is designed to really give you those foundational elements in a way that's convenient and less costly because you don't have to travel, but then to really fully ground you in the Anglican tradition. The third part of the curriculum is something that I don't think any other seminary does. And it has to do with our program in Congregational Development. We have a Doctor of Ministry program in Congregational Development that's been around for quite a long time. And we thought it would be a great idea, instead of training people to go out and do ministry after they've gotten their MDiv, and then come back in 3 years for advanced education and congregational leadership and development. We thought it'd be a great idea to allow our Master of Divinity students to learn and study side by side with experienced ministers in the DMin program. So built into our MDiv curriculum is essentially a minor of 12 credits in congregational leadership and development. So that's another unique aspect of our curriculum that builds on our strengths. And 2 programs that we've had going for a very long time, which is the Anglican Studies program, the Congregational Leadership and Development courses, and then the field education, which I told you a little bit about earlier, which you do in your own local context.
Great, thank you. You mentioned already the Doctor of Ministry and Congregational Development, which is one of the programs we offer here. Would you speak briefly about our Doctor of Ministry in Preaching, what that program looks like.
That's an ecumenical program. I believe there are 7 seminaries that participate in that program. 7 seminaries that are part of the Association of Chicago Theological Schools Consortium. We're one of the schools that belongs to that consortium. So for the MDiv program, that means that we have reciprocal cross-registration opportunities with the other seminaries, which is the Lutheran Seminary, the Roman Catholic Seminary, the UCC Seminary, and Unitarians. The ecumenical Demon in Preaching is essentially a summer program where experienced preachers, it's not where someone comes to learn how to preach, but someone who's really already quite experienced would come to really perfect their skills. And they come for 3 weeks in the summer for 3 years. And then they do a thesis. So that's what that program looks like. Yeah, and we've had that for quite a while too.
Thank you. Milner, I wanted to ask you now if you can speak, I know Terry mentioned some of the specifics of the Diploma in Anglican Studies, and I know that's part of the people that you're always most involved with. Would you speak to us briefly about another perspective of the Diploma in Anglican Studies?
Surely, I'll be happy to. First of all, let me say that another unique thing, I think it's unique about Bexley Seabury, is that students within our various programs take courses across programs. In many other schools, the DMin students are sort of segregated off into one set of courses, and MDiv students are segregated into another group of courses. But with, as Terry was describing the MDiv before, MDiv students are able to take DMin courses with the DMin students. And so there's a lot of cross-pollination that I think is very valuable. And when we talk about the Diploma in Anglican Studies, that's true there as well. In a nutshell, the courses in the Diploma in Anglican Studies are those courses from the MDiv that are specifically about the Episcopal Church or the Anglican tradition. The courses that Terry was mentioning before, Anglican Theology, Anglican History, Liturgy and Music, those sorts of things. And in addition to that, there's some of the DMin courses that are part of the MDiv, that are part of the Diploma in Anglican Studies as well. I don't remember the exact number of hours, but you can look that up online. That's available there. Terry can tell you after I'm done with my bit here. The students who are involved in the Anglican Studies program, I would divide into 3 different groups. And Terry and Jaime and Jason, you correct me if I leave something out here. But we get a number of students who already have earned a Master of Divinity from a non-Episcopal seminary. They may have even been ordained in another tradition. And they've decided that they want to be ordained in the Episcopal Church. And they need to go back and take some courses and learn something about our particular tradition. And so a number of students in our program already have MDivs, and they're taking the Anglican Studies program on top of that. Another segment are students who are currently enrolled in an MDiv program, sometimes elsewhere in Chicago, but oftentimes other places in the country. For instance, right now we have a student who's enrolled in an MDiv program in the Presbyterian Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky. But she travels to Chicago and takes her Anglican Studies program, her Anglican Studies courses with us as part of the Diploma in Anglican Studies, so that when she completes her MDiv, she'll have the Episcopal Church stuff that she needs for ordination in her diocese. Another group of students who may or may not be doing the whole diploma and may be picking and choosing cafeteria style the courses they want are students who just want to learn more about these particular courses or the Episcopal Church in general. We've had students who have no intention of being ordained who will take some of our Anglican Studies courses. And Terry and I remember the first time we taught together, we had one student who was a retired ELCA minister who had started doing some part-time work in an Episcopal congregation. And Robin said, I think I need to learn something about this church that I'm serving part-time. And she was a veteran ordained minister in the Lutheran tradition, right, Terry?
Mm-hmm.
I think from my notes, that's what I had to say.
Thank you, Milner.
So over to you.
Thanks. Now, this is obviously a lot of information, and particularly with the Masters of Divinity. And I want to listen to Anthony now. Help us make sense of this all from the student's perspective. What is it like to be a student here? And for Anthony, his situation is quite unique, not alone, because you're not the first one who have done it. But we had in last year a few students who have actually moved to Chicago to take advantage of the consortium of theological schools here in Chicago. And what they have done is that they actually take some of the classes that are set up for CTS either here in person at CTS or in some of the other schools, like the Lutheran School of Theology or the Catholic Theological Union with equivalent courses. But tell us what it's like to be here in Chicago.
Okay. Low residency doesn't mean no residency, because I moved here from Cambridge, Massachusetts. I could have stayed at Boston University, but I decided to come because I wanted an Anglican Episcopal experience. And I hope to be ordained as well. And what I have right in front of me is one of those courses, Canon Law and Communion. That is a required thing. Anyway, at first, so I'm in my third year. I'm finishing off my MDiv because my school, Episcopal Divinity School in Cambridge, closed and moved to New York. And the people here at Bexley Seabury were kind enough to accept me here. So at first I was skeptical about this arrangement they have here, because Bexley Seabury is on the second floor of a four-floor building, a building of 4 floors. On the bottom is the CTS, and then the third is the library, and on the fourth they have a big chapel. And on Wednesdays they have a sort of ecumenical service, and they give you free lunch afterwards. So I'm not skeptical about this anymore. And besides, I take courses with CTS students. I'm taking 2 courses now: the history of Christianity, thought, right, and then a multicultural course. And there I get to meet a lot of CTS students. So it's quite a community, and I like the arrangement now. Yeah. As far as Chicago is concerned, and I also live in the Lutheran residences. They have extra housing because Bexley Seabury doesn't have it, and they allow us to live there. So I live there, and I bus to the campus here. What I like about Chicago is that I'm from the Bahamas originally, and when I saw Lake Michigan with that big expanse of water, Lord, it made me feel at home. It really did. And people on the beach, not right now because it's getting colder and windier, but I feel at home here. And also, there's something that the people here seem to be kinder in Chicago. I mean, we're at Harvard, where there was Harvard University, they'd go by as though they didn't see you. I don't know what it was all about, but I feel much better here. What else? Yeah, what else should I say? Oh, and that Professor Milner, you see him there? I came and I said, I want to learn how to chant, the service. I want to be able to sing the service. And they don't have that course anymore. That was at Seabury Western. But he's volunteered to teach me how to chant. So we meet every Tuesday morning and we chant away. So I'm happy right now, knock on wood.
Yes, but before we run into our Q&A question section, I want to just briefly talk about financial aid. So here at Bexley Seminary, every time you fill out your application, we encourage you to fill out our financial aid application. It's quite simple. It just asks you for some demographic information and for your FAFSA information, and that's all it takes. And we try to be as generous as possible with our financial aid. So please don't forget that part of the application process. And also for those who are part of the LGBTQ community, we invite all of you to participate in a Seminary scholarship. It's a full tuition scholarship. It also covers your travel and housing costs in Chicago as well. So please don't hesitate to apply for that if you're able. And also, you know, if you're not, just pass the word around that we offer that as scholarship. We have one full scholarship open for the 2018 school year. So now we're going to move into a question and answer session. I'm going to unmute all of you, and please make sure to speak one at a time. And before you ask a question, please present yourself and tell us from where you are, where you're visiting us virtually. So.
Hi, I'm Marissa Thompson. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, and both my husband and I are here because we're both looking at different degree programs there. I'm interested in the DMin program that you have, and I've got many questions about them, but the couple that I'll start with are related to how the structure works. This is the first time I've heard that the coursework is the same as the MDiv degree, and I guess I'm wondering, is there a distinction? And especially because the program description says this is a post-MDiv degree, I guess I'm wondering how that works and how it works with the consortium. Are some of the courses taken there in the same intensive format?
Okay, so
Sure.
with the consortium, the way it works is that other schools that have a DMin program can cross-register with one another. Other schools that have a PhD can cross-register with one another within that degree program. But our DMin programs, well, the Congregational Development program is very specialized. It's designed for an advanced degree. It's not designed to be a master's level degree. So students will be in the same classroom. What we're trying to make sure that we're careful to do is have the right balance of students in those classes. So, because we don't want it to be so that there are more MDiv students in those classes than DMin students, because that changes the whole dynamic. But we want our MDiv students to be able to experience those classes. And it's not all of them. It's 12 credits. So the difference basically is in the level of work that's expected and the quality of work that's expected. So DMin students will have different requirements in their assignments, potentially in their readings, in their research. And one of the things that's a key component of the DMin and congregational leadership is the Congregational Study. It's a very high context program, and it's designed for people who want to work within their own congregations to develop missional objectives within that congregation for the community that the congregation is situated in. So the Congregational Study basically gives the DMin students experience in how to do demographic study, how to analyze the community that the congregation is in. And Jason is really more of an expert in this, so he could speak more to that than I can, and I'll invite him to do that.
Yeah, so I don't actually teach that class, but yeah, it's I do teach classes that teach skills relevant to the congregational study, like working with census data, geographical information systems, and so forth. And so it's a deep dive into the context of the particular community or congregation that you're called to serve, or that you're going to be doing your project around. And I'll just, I think, piggyback on what Terry's already said, and say that the difference is chiefly between the assignments given to doctoral level students and the expectations of them. You know, there's a clear difference between someone coming back for a doctoral level degree and someone studying for a first professional degree. And yet we also find that there can be some very rich and enriching conversations having them in the same classroom. So
I would think it encourages a larger cohort, which is probably a good thing for learning, because I imagine it's a fairly small cohort.
For the past several years, we've had between 6 and 8 DMIN students that start every June. So yes, cohorts are much smaller than the MDiv.
And logistically, one more thing about the Doctor Minister program. The courses are only offered in January and in June. So they're only week-long intensives. Unless you want to take a spring or fall semester as in one of your electives, you're only expected to be here June and
And there's a cohort group that the DMIN students will belong to, and from the very beginning of the program, the purpose of that group is to have professionals supporting one another in their learning, and also to help one another in developing their thesis proposals and think about what kind of research they want to do, what kind of projects they're ultimately going to want to do. So, you know, that happens just among the DMIN students.
Thank you.
Milner?
I wanted to add one thing. If I understood the question correctly, it had to do with the MDiv and the DMin and how they fit together. And I wanted to make it clear that MDiv students don't take all of the courses that are within the DMin. They take a selection. They have some options within that. And each of them is encouraged to take, what is it, about 3 courses within the DMin program?
It's 12 credits. It's 4 courses.
Okay, 4 courses. I was close. That's good.
And there are choices. There are choices on which courses the MDivs can take.
Yeah, yeah. And so they're not taking the whole.
Any other questions? Esther, go ahead.
I was noticing that on the pathway to the MDiv, the handout with the sequence of courses, the courses, you know, are really spread out in the program. Is it possible to take some of the classes out of order?
Yes. The pathway is designed to illustrate how the degree can be completed in 3 years. But it's not just random. I mean, you know, we have the more foundational courses in the beginning, and, you know, it works towards the more advanced courses. One of the things that you may have noticed is that our contextual field education program goes for 5 or 6 semesters if you're doing, a 3-year program. So it starts in the 2nd semester of the 1st year, basically exploring to establish a relationship with congregation or whatever your ministerial context is going to be, if it's not within the church. Then it's in the second year that you actually do your field work and in that location, and also participate in a field education seminar. And then in the last year, you continue working in that location, but there's no seminar. And the third year is more like an internship. You want to develop some experience in that middle year, and then in the third year, we kind of think of it as a curacy, for people who are planning to be ordained, or an opportunity for someone to continue to hone their practical skills in context and apply their learning in context, whatever that context might be. So yeah, we move things around a bit. Most people do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Esther. Anyone else? Oh, Kyle, go ahead.
Oh,
Hi, Kyle.
yeah. Can you hear me? So I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota, and I'm primarily interested in part-time. So how does that work? Because the 3-year full-time is kind of laid out here, but as a part-time, is there a guideline for how long that program would take?
We've been thinking about developing a pathway for part-time. The thing is that everyone's part-time is a little different. It could take you 4 years, it could take you 5 years. The way I would explain it at this point is to use the pathway for the 3-year as a kind of model, but to just expand it out to whatever time frame works with your life. So I think in the near future, we'll probably have a template or a pathway for a 4-year, but what it's going to be is even more flexible, because if you're going part-time, you're not going to be going along a particular pathway that we prescribe. You're going to be going more along your own pathway. So it'll be more for guidance purposes. As far as the field education component is concerned, when you get to the point where you're ready to explore a congregation or a context, which incidentally, normally it's not your ascending parish. It's normally a different one, and it's not normally any place where you already work. When you're at that point, then you would, get to know that congregation, for example, as a parishioner for a semester. And then once you start your field ed, I would say that should be completed within the same year, and do the field ed seminar within the same year. So that's one piece that you wouldn't be able to, do half of it 1 year and half the other, because it really would interrupt the way the course is structured. But other than that, other than field ed, which kind of takes place over the course of these several semesters, you could scatter out the other courses. And we always encourage students to take their foundational courses early, so that you could take advantage of more advanced electives. We have 12 general electives that students can take, whether they're courses here or in other X schools. And it's always possible, to take courses at other seminaries to do transfer credit, which, for a part-time student is often an option, a practical option.
Thank you, Kyle. Marisa, go ahead.
I have one more question about, could you talk to us a little bit more about the financial resources available? I mean, you've mentioned the one scholarship that we ought to do the FAFSA. Is everything else other than that one scholarship need-based, or what, as I've been looking a lot at cost comparisons?
So that scholarship is need-based, right? And what's built into the expectation is that, you know, someone working in ministry usually doesn't, you know, it's not breaking a bank or anything like that. So regularly somebody in the DMIN program that applies for financial base gets around 60 to 70% of their tuition covered
For the DMIN,
for the DMIN, right?
I would say probably not that much. Not as many DMINs actually apply for financial aid. But I would say that the range based on need across the programs is somewhere between 50 and 70%.
And is that also available for the Anglican Studies program, or is it just the DMIN MDiv?
No, it's open for anybody. It is actually, if you want to take just one course with us, you want to apply for financial aid for that one course, you're open to do it. So we really recommend you apply for financial aid, even if you're taking one course with us. So obviously it's open for the Diploma in Anglican Studies, the Masters of Divinity, and the Doctor of Ministry, the Doctor of Ministry programs.
Yes.
So. Okay. All right. If there's some more questions, we'll move to the virtual part of our tour, and this will be we'll close with this. Okay. So for those of you who don't have your VR headset, oh, I see some of them over there. So Anthony Dahl will be our in-house demonstrator. So what you need to do, if you have your smartphone, you need to open your YouTube app, and you look for Bexley Seminary. You're going to find our channel. When you find our channel, you go to our playlist. You're going to find a playlist that says Virtual Reality Tour. So for those of you at home, you don't have to do anything. I'm going to actually do it in this computer as well. Let me just set up Anthony so he can see it.
Oh, okay.
You go. So you put the phone, once you put it on, you can either hit play or not. You can hit play in here. All right. Yeah, you can look at it. And I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to mute everybody again, so just give me 1 second. Why is this? All right, here we go. Welcome to Seminary, a virtual seminary tour. We'll take you around our campus and around our home here in Hyde Park to show you and highlight a few things of our neighborhood. Welcome to our home. We're located here in Hyde Park in Chicago, right by the Midway Consent, which is like portrait and one of the great things about the series is it's actually it's 7 counties around us. We have the Episcopal Theological Education, which is about a mile away. There's also the Divinity School at the University of Chicago. We have Catholic Theological Union just about 8 blocks away. And we also have the Congregational Seminary, which is located right by LSTC as well. Here we have LSTC in our home, located on the second floor of this wonderful building. This is a great place for workout and play. Plenty of park area. When you come here in the summer, it's probably be more useful than some other times of the year. It's a cloudy day today, but you know, in summer it's always nice, and still we get some rain. But this is a wonderful park. It's just located a block away from our home. I hope you enjoy the view. Wonder what to eat when you're here for school, either for your summer intensives or your weekend intensives. There's always time for lunch and dinner during your classes. Just located 4 blocks away from our campus is this block in 57th Street, where you have 5 different choices for food. It's always stunning and always fun. So don't miss the opportunity to come and have a bite. And the questions that I get asked a lot is, what would I say when I go to for my either weekend or week-long intensive at Seminary? Well, LSTC, which is the Lutheran School of Theology, and Catholic Theological Union, both offer student housing available for our students. You just need to contact them directly to make your own arrangements. I do recommend you to make those arrangements as soon as you know your schedule for each term. Another option that is very popular among our students is Airbnbs around the High Park area. Now we're just a couple of blocks away. Going back to campus in our tour. Just wanted you to take a chance to view the neighborhood.
Oh, you're moving it?
I am the one moving.
I was wondering why the hand was there.
So if you would, like he was doing, you can move it like this. Oh, you're in the class? You're with me on there.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, in this class.
I hope you enjoyed our walk around. I hope you enjoyed our tour of High Park. But if you're here for one of our degree programs, or you're considering taking a course with us as part of our lifelong formation program, or whether you're just curious of what our seminary looks like, I hope you enjoy our tour. Here at Seminary, we always welcome everyone with our open arms. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us.
Be a seminary student to understand what's available. But the people in the pews, if somebody's really interested in any one of these,
I don't know how to move it just to this
you might
side.
find some. Like in this one, by Christmas.
Okay. Thanks for watching. You can actually continue on and have an experience within our classroom, as you saw in that little clip where you can see a clip of Milner's class, and it actually also goes into the chapel. So if you stay with it and go back to either with your browser in our YouTube channel in the playlist virtual tour, or if you use your VR viewer, you can have a better experience with that. So if there's no more questions, this will be the end of our virtual open house. Oh, Milner.
Go Cubs.
All right. Thank you all for coming. And you will be receiving a survey of this online open house. Please keep an eye on your inboxes so you can help us make it better. So God bless you.
Thanks
Bye
for
now.
coming. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.